In this video, we're going to be talking about the Hazardous series from Project X and which shaft may be right for you. Let's go butts around.
Hit the ball!
Hey guys, David Folk here. On this channel, we do golf club reviews, golf gear reviews, instructional videos, and Geek Speak videos just like this one. So if you're new here, consider subscribing. So we're going to kick off the series of custom fit golf shafts with the Hazardous shafts from Project X. This is one of the most popular shafts out there on the market today, and we're going to talk about what's available in the aftermarket so that you guys know as you look at getting fit for different clubs, whether or not the Hazardous series is going to be the right series for you and which one in the series may be the one that's going to fit your swing best. Now, I do want to start off with, again, reiterating that a shaft is only one piece of the golf club puzzle, as is the club head, as is the grip. So keep that in mind that it's one piece. It's not going to make or break your swing. It is going to help with consistency of strike and the feel as you swing the golf club. It's not going to impact the trajectory or the spin near as much as how you deliver the attack angle of your club. If you attack it down, kind of even, or if you attack up, it's not going to impact the numbers near as much as your delivery of the club through the impact zone, but it will help you build some consistency with your strike pattern across your face. So keep that in mind. It's one component. It's not going to fix your swing and be the end all. So that's why I want to make sure that we don't go down the rabbit hole of shaftoid, gear, getting into tip, midsection, and whatnot. We're only going to be talking about torque. We're going to be talking about weight. And we're going to be talking about bend to profiles. Those are the three things we're going to be talking about as we get into this series of shaft with Project X, the Hazardous series. Let's start off with the Hazardous Black, and let's read from the Project X website what it has to say about the Project X Hazardous Black. It states, Hazardous Black delivers insane distance for the stronger and more aggressive golfer without sacrificing control. The shaft features increased stiffness along the full length of the golf shaft, which allows golfers to put more power behind the ball. Hazardous Black is a low-spinning, low-launching shaft that is available in models for both woods and hybrids. And when Project X mentions low-launching, low-spinning, we're not talking degrees of launch, okay? We're talking like maybe a half a degree, maybe a degree if we're delivering the ball consistently, depending upon our launch angle and our impact zone numbers. Keep that in mind, one component of the golf club, but it's one component. So if you do tend to launch the ball higher, this will help you feel like you have a little bit more control. Again, Hazardous series in general has a little bit more stiffness across the entire length of the shaft, so it is going to feel a little bit more boardy than other shafts out there. I personally have found as you come through, as it loads and unloads, and that's going to be a feeling that we're going to have. Now that we've taken a little bit of a look at the bend profile, which is going to have that high kick, which is going to produce a low launch, slow spin, let's take a look at the weighting. And the Project X Hazardous Black 65 actually weighs only 62 grams, and the Project X 75 Hazardous Black is going to weigh 75 grams. So the 65-75 is there just to kind of give it a nice round number so you can tell the difference between the two. It's not going to be picky, and we're going to see that throughout the Hazardous line. Some of them are going to be 62, some of them are going to be 63, 73. They're not nice and even numbers for weighting, and they do all that to make sure that Project X can meet exactly what they want to try and accomplish with this shaft. If you look at the torque here, which is going to be the resistance of club head twisting, we're going to see in the 65 is going to be 3.2, which is on the lower end. And if you look at the 75, it's going to be 2.9, which is even lower. So it's going to feel a little bit more boardy than other shafts out there. It's not going to load, have that loading feeling where you're going to come through and really feel like you're going to impact it, and it's going to unload and unleash the beast and rocket the ball out there. It will still do that based on your swing, but it's not going to have that same whippiness or loading feeling as other shafts that are out there. So the Hazardous Yellow is similar characteristics to the Hazardous Black, but let's read what Project X has to say about it. It reads, the Hazardous Yellow is a back-weighted low-spinning shaft featuring a straight tapered midsection. This profile is perfect for players with a smooth tempo who want to reduce launch and spin rates. The back weighting allows for traditional mass to be added to the head for increased ball speed. The idea of this new Hazardous Yellow is to put a little bit more weight toward the grip end of the club so that the offset of the weight there, you can put a little bit more weight in the head. It'll still feel like you have a D2 or D1 swing weight, but the increased weight in the head will help you, according to Hazardous, hit the ball with more club head speed, producing more ball speed, so they say, which is going to generate longer distance because ball speed is the #1 determinant of distance when it comes to how far the ball goes. So the Yellow Hazardous, again, has that low launch, low spin characteristics. And from what I've understood about this shaft in particular, it loads a little different than the Hazardous Black. It feels like it's a little bit lighter, especially if you're using the same head and you don't put any sort of weighting in the head. So it feels a little bit lighter as you load it, unload it, versus the Hazardous Black, which feels a little bit heavier. But as you guys can see here, you look at the gram weighting of it. For the 65, you see that it's 63. And for the weighting of the Yellow, it is going to be 76. And how much can you tell the difference between 1 gram versus maybe 2 grams? It's probably pretty negligible. It's not going to be a whole lot, but you can see when they start moving the weight away from where the balance point is or where the midpoint is of the shaft, it's going to feel a little bit different on how it loads and unloads. And that's going to be the thing, is how does it feel, and are you hitting the strike zone consistently where you want to hit it on the club face? That's going to be the two main things when you're picking shafts you want to consider. Looking at the torque, you guys can see here on the Yellow, it's going to have a 3.3 torque and a 2.9 torque for the 75. It's similar again, it's just going to be the resistance to twisting. It's going to have maybe a little bit more boardy feel than other shafts out there, but feeling a little bit lighter because of the counterbalanced weight or the weight up there in the grip. The Hazardous Red features, according to Project X, the same ultra-stable midsection as the Hazardous Black with a more active tip for players who want a higher peak trajectory without sacrificing distance or control. This is going to be more of a mid-bend profile. It's going to produce a little bit more of a mid-launch. And again, we're talking smidgens of degrees. We're not talking actual like 2 degrees higher or 4 degrees higher. We're only talking like incremental degrees of launch and incremental degrees of spin. But if you find a club that's dropping the spin rates too low, you add a shaft in there, you might get a couple hundred more RPM. Overall, that might make the club very playable for what you're trying to do with it. So just one piece of the puzzle as we look at the entire club. I'm going to keep restating that throughout this so that you guys understand it's not going to be the fix-it, but it is going to play a role in how the club performs. And what Project X means by a little bit more active tip is how much whip, how much kind of kick it feels like the club is going to have. As you unload it, it's going to feel like the club is going to kick a little bit more, get a little bit more through that, and feel like you're going to get a little bit more oomph through it versus, let's say, the Project X Hazardous Black, which doesn't really have that same type of feel. So it's just going to give you a little bit more different feeling. If we look at the torque here, from the 65, you see that it's 3.2, and from the red is going to be 2.9. So it's going to have the same resistance to twisting as it comes through, but because the tip section is a little bit more active, it's going to feel like it's going to pop through just a little bit more than, let's say, the Yellow or the Black. So there's one more Hazardous that's been left over from last year that are mentioned still in the aftermarket shaft options for Project X, and that's going to be the T1100. The T1100 is the lowest spinning, lowest launching shaft in the Hazardous family. The Hazardous T1100 uses T11G fiber, which is the strongest fiber available, to build a shaft with an extra stiff tip section that is also counterbalanced. With a bend profile that is stiff throughout, the Hazardous T1100 is the ultimate spin killer for the game's most aggressive tempo players, and it is only available through performance fitting centers. So this also has that counterbalanced weighting like the Hazardous Yellow, but has an extra stiff tip section, so the tip is not going to move as much. It's going to feel really boardy. You're not going to have any sort of movement with the head. And as we take a look here at the torque, we're going to see that it's going to be 2.8 and 2.5, which basically means they're trying to prevent the head twisting really as much as possible for a shaft, and you don't want to try and stop it because you want some motion to continue to help that club head close. But if you guys are swinging really aggressively, if you have a super fast club head speed, this shaft may be a shaft for you. It doesn't feel very heavy because of the counterbalance. When you put that head on there, it's not going to feel as heavy as other shafts. And looking at the weighting, you guys can see that it's going to be 65 and 75. And with the counterbalance, it's going to feel even lighter. And that allows club fitters who are looking to use this shaft to put a little hot melt in there, to put a little lead tape on the back or where they want to have the center of gravity to help manipulate that, so that you can add a little weight to the head, have a little bit of a counterbalanced shaft. You still get that same swing weight that you're desiring or that you're looking for. It's not going to help you keep the ball low or keep the ball high, or how much spin you get. That's going to be minuscule. It's all about consistency and all about making sure you can have a consistent strike pattern on the face. So guys, that is the Hazardous lineup from Project X. I do want to leave you with one little nugget of information. There is a Hazardous prototype that is going to be coming out and that I'm going to be able to review. One of my friends here is a reviewer for Project X and True Temper, and so he's going to be getting that prototype, and I'll be doing a review potentially with him to show you that shaft, talk about the characteristics, so that we can see this new prototype versus the other lineup that we just talked about. So guys, thanks for watching. Go ahead and post your comments down below. If you guys are using a Hazardous shaft, let me know which one. If you guys are interested in a Hazardous and you're not sure which one to get, go ahead and post those questions down below as well. I try to get to everybody's comments and questions. And of course, guys, while you're down there, go ahead, hit that subscribe button. Give us a thumbs up because YouTube likes that. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll chat with you next time. Unleash the beast and rocket the ball out there.